Set to start the fourth quarter in our Saturday Night Football presented by Southwest Airlines, and Oklahoma State is 15 minutes away from being Big 12 Conference champions and entering the BCS. 30-point wins in series history. The Sooners have had 26. Oklahoma State won. Oklahoma State has only won this battle 5 times since World War II. Tonight they are winning every battle and every war, and they almost intercepted another pass. Markel Martin got his hand on it.
Now, I just think, again, from the very beginning, from the first possession, the Oklahoma State defense has shown up. I mean, they have played at a different level than they've played most of this season. And they've contested every play. I mean, Oklahoma has not had one big, easy play against this Cowboy defense tonight.
3rd and 10, Sooners. Jones in trouble again. Just has to get rid of it. And it goes up in the 3rd row again. That's the 2nd time there's been a football up there, and I'm sure they're not going to give it back. Nope, they are going to give it back. There's a sportsman. Pass intended for that guy.
Yeah. Number 3 was in the area in the 2nd row, maybe. Either that or number 3 was 9 feet tall.
Tress Way to punt. Cooper, fair catch, and made a good fair catch, backpedaling around the 9-yard line. Early 4th quarter, all Cowboys. To download. Sooners right now are getting downloaded by the Cowboys here. 44-3. And Randall on the handoff. Brandon Whedon hasn't had to throw touchdown passes tonight. He's got these guys to work with. Having a decent night for just an average quarterback, but he's anything but average. Well, with his numbers.
Yeah, and they've run the football. They came into the game averaging 161 yards on the ground, 182 now. And that takes a lot of pressure off the quarterback.
And he has not been touched.
Not even close.
He directs some traffic on his protection on 2nd down and 7. Taking his time and says, Justin Blackman, come now. And he'll give it off on the ground again to Randall. And again, a big chunk on the ground.
Now, this offensive line has controlled the football game. I mean, they have absolutely done a great job. Opening running lanes. Protecting the quarterback. The center, Grant Garner, number 74, getting to the 2nd level. He is really good at that. They run the zone play. That's their bread and butter. And somebody's got to get to the 2nd level, get to the linebackers, and Garner does a great job of that.
Cooper in motion, but the handoff will go to Randall again for 2, maybe 3. Jamarcus McFarland made the tackle as we check in with Holly.
Well, Oklahoma State quarterback Brandon Whedon played professional baseball, but when he was wrapping up his career, he said, I was in an airport talking to my agent and knew that my baseball future was probably over. So I thought, you know, I want to think about it a few days, maybe get into football. He decided to call Oklahoma. He grew up in Edmond, halfway between here and Norman. They were very polite, but he could tell they were not interested. And so now he's here at Oklahoma State.
And it worked out pretty well. That's for sure. With a pro football career in his future, playing his last game here tonight along with 15 other seniors and 1 junior. That junior being Justin Blackman, who was introduced tonight with the seniors because he's expected to be maybe the first wide receiver taken in the NFL draft next spring.
And that senior class, more wins than any class in school history. This would be their 40th win tonight.
Yep.
Mike Gundy said they're responsible for the way people think of Oklahoma State now.
And now they've set a program pattern. So the young guys behind him are going, okay, we got to keep this thing going. Whedon double clutch because he had a man right in his line of sight.
First time he got knocked down.
Yep.
Because he had to double clutch on the quick screen.
Jeremy Smith did make the catch but lost some yardage. So for the first time tonight, number 3 feels a hit from somebody in crimson and white.
Corey Nelson came off the edge.
But for the most part tonight, Bowie, Martinez, Garner, Taylor, Adcock, Graham, that front wall that Todd talked about, they have done a marvelous job protecting their quarterback and opening holes for their running backs. Quinn Sharp to punt. Fair catch taken at the 36 by Kenny Stills. 11:33 remaining. Cowboys are having their way with the Sooners tonight.
Saturday Night Football on ABC, presented by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Chevrolet and their award-winning cars, trucks, and crossovers. And the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot.
Happy night if you're cheering for the Cowboys. Not so much if you're cheering for the Sooners. As we take a look at our Pacific Life game summary. Turnovers. Broderick Brown with an interception in the end zone. Stopped an Oklahoma drive. And then Landry Jones fumbled. Blatnick picked it up on a perfect hop. Took it down to the 1. They scored one play later. Then on a fan job on an attempted pass, Richetti Jones takes it in. And then another fumble recovery right here led to yet another Cowboy touchdown.
Well, that's been their MO all season. Coming in, led the nation in forced turnovers. They were second in the country in turnover margin behind #1 LSU. But they've added 4 to that tonight. So just an outstanding continuation of what they've done all year. 41 forced turnovers now and plus 20. That statistic is always going to tell you about a season.
I'm not sure what the turnover situation was in the LSU-Georgia game today, but LSU is the only team that was above plus 16 that the Cowboys came in with. As Todd said, it's plus 20 now, so they're right in there anyway. Millard, fullback in motion as they give it off to Brennan Clay. And we're going to be down to 10 minutes probably on the next snap. 58,141. Not quite a record crowd at Boone Pickens Stadium, but certainly one of the biggest. And nobody's leaving, I'll tell you that much. They said earlier this week they thought they had storm warnings for today. It was raining like crazy this morning, and it cleared off. But the storm they were talking about is whether or not the fans here would storm the field if they were able to beat Oklahoma. We'll know that in about 10 minutes and 15 seconds. I guess if ever they had a reason to come out on the field, it would be with what's going on tonight. And now that crowd of 58,000 plus is causing some havoc and a delay of game on the Sooners.
Well, Landry Jones was trying to change the play or the protection at the line of scrimmage, and the left tackle, Donald Stevenson, didn't hear it. And he asked him to come back up and remake the call, and when they did that, they ran out of time.
So that backs it up to the 44. Under 10 minutes, nothing going right for Oklahoma. Jones steps up in the pocket, fires over the middle, and throws a strike to Camille Jackson.
One of his best throws of the night right there. Stepped up, stepped right into it.
17-yard pickup.
Right in front of the receiver. Perfect spot for the football.
Umpire resets the football for the center on first down. In Cowboy territory at the 49. Clay trying to get to the corner, and Blatnick's not going to let him get there as he shoves him out of bounds. And we go to Robert Flores. Robert.
Hey, Brad, some excitement in the first ever Big Ten championship game between Michigan State and Wisconsin, a rematch from earlier in the season. Kirk Cousins here hooks up with B.J. Cunningham. And Michigan State is leading 36-28. More good news for Oklahoma State because of the ACC title game on ESPN. Clemson is beating Virginia Tech. Cowboys looking to jump Tech to get into that #2 spot of the BCS.
And they're having no problem tonight so far. And time is just about expired on the Sooners night. A little over 8 minutes to go. Jones, that one in the air and almost intercepted. On the ricochet, Ryan Robinson almost had a play on the ball, as that front four has been so active tonight for the Cowboys.
Elkin, the linebacker, was the guy who got in there and deflected the football.
Jones loads and goes deep. Intercepted by Gilbert. Another turnover. +5 on the night.
Wow.
The Cowboy defense. Ride 'em Cowboys. 44-3. The reaction in Afghanistan tonight for the Cowboy fans. I think the most interesting bet I heard about, two guys. The loser was going to have the mascot tattooed on his rear end. Somebody's going to have a Sooner schooner thing on his backside. Oklahoma State came in. Here's what they need to play in the BCS championship game. Remember, the computers love them, but the voters don't so much. So if more than 25% of the voters made them second place voters and everybody else made them number 3 on their ballots, they got a shot. What they're doing now is they are annihilating their counterparts from Norman, and it's getting worse. Randall all the way out to the 43-yard line. Joseph Randall. And right now, just steamrolling the Sooners are the Cowboys from Stillwater. And Todd, I don't know, are they good enough to be in the BCS National Championship game?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm very impressed with them tonight. I don't think it's going to happen.
Right.
I think when the voters cast their final votes, I think they will be good enough to be the 3rd best team, you know, on all the polls. I think they'll pass Stanford. I think they'll pass Virginia Tech. I don't think they'll pass Alabama. And in my own personal opinion, I still think LSU and Alabama are the 2 best teams in college football. However, I, as a fan, would love to see this offensive football team go against either one of those defenses and see the Big 12 and the SEC in that kind of a matchup.
The fans are chanting LSU right now.
You know, it's so interesting when you think about comparing the Big 12 and the SEC. The Big 12, known for offense. Oklahoma State has gained more yards in 8 and probably 9 games now this season than LSU and Alabama gained combined when they played on November 5th.
Here's Smith, another big opening, and the ball came out of the end. And who's got it? It's going to be Oklahoma ball way back inside the 20-yard line as the ball squirted out of there. Well, maybe it's not Oklahoma ball. They're still going at it down near the 15-yard line. It is going to be Oklahoma football. And there's also talk that because of the fact that we showed you that 5-year reign for the SEC as far as being BCS champions, that's Jeremy Smith, who fumbled the ball, who's down on the turf. Hopefully he's not hurt. He's had a marvelous game tonight. But a lot of people think because of those BCS championship games and the reputation that the SEC has around the entire country by guys like us and other people, that maybe they get too much credit. You know, that's the strongest conference is. Obviously, the defenses of Alabama and LSU are unparalleled.
Yeah.
But maybe guys like this deserve a little love and a chance. And like you said, everybody I've talked to said, you know what? We've already seen Alabama and LSU, and it was an overtime game, and it was a bunch of field goals, and it was a bunch of defense, and that's great if you love defense. But most people I talked to said, I would love to see somebody that can score 50 points a game, see if they can score enough to beat an LSU.
Well, and that's an intriguing thought, you know, but I think what's going to still stay in the minds of most voters is Alabama's loss was to the #1 team in the country in overtime. And it was a game that really they controlled and should have won, but they didn't. Oklahoma State's loss 3 weeks later was on the road at unranked Iowa State. And I think that loss, losing to a team like Iowa State, is going to weigh in the mind still when they cast their votes.
I just hope that it doesn't take away from what Oklahoma State's doing here. They're going to win a conference championship. They're going to go to a BCS game, and they have to be awfully proud of another 11-win season. But there are people around here that thought if they beat Oklahoma tonight, too many people would look back to 2 weeks ago and say, well, if they just would have beaten Iowa State.
Now they're still
look at it that way.
They're taking the next step as a program. I mean, they are taking the next step, an outright conference championship, a BCS bowl game, even if it's not the championship game, a huge step in the right direction for this program because they're moving themselves into a new stratosphere as one of the elite programs in college football with a win here tonight.
They're doing what Oregon did in the late 90s when they finally got in the Rose Bowl picture. They're doing what Wisconsin did in the early 90s to make their first Rose Bowl in 31 years under Barry Alvarez. That's what Oklahoma State is doing right now. They're making a statement, and they're moving the program to the next level where they're going to be a perennial bowl team and maybe always be in the hunt to go to the BCS or to be possibly involved in a national championship game. Roy Finch on the biggest run of the night after that fumble recovery, 33 yards for Finch. Some of the great signs we're seeing now, I'm not sure they were holding those things up earlier in the ball game, but they certainly have reason to with 6:22 to go. With the exception of a few of the folks from Norman who have left their seats, nobody else has left Boone Pickens Stadium right now because there's going to be a celebration in Stillwater tonight.
Well, you know, the drum that they will beat the loudest here in Stillwater tonight and through the weekend and next week will be those quality wins. The number of quality wins over ranked opponents that this Oklahoma State team can boast compared to what Alabama can boast. But again, there's that perception the SEC is still the strongest conference, so therefore Alabama has a little bit more weight.
Again, this will be the 5th win over a BCS top 25 team for Oklahoma State. Here's Millard, and he's a couple yards shy of the first down as we check in with Holly.
Well, this is arguably one of the biggest games in Oklahoma State history, so we were wondering if Mike Gundy would get tight, how he would coach tonight. Well, it was a good signal when he told us that yesterday morning he spent his time digging trenches on his 70-acre farm here in Stillwater, laying some power lines, some telephone lines. He said, you know, I've been involved in sports since I was 5 years old, playing year-round. I know how to focus during a game, and his demeanor has been very calm here on the sidelines, guys.
Tell you what, his team's laid some power lines down tonight on Oklahoma.
I hope he's got some long underwear on because he's going to get Gatorated here in a very short amount of time.
First down run, a little skirmish on the bottom of the pile as we're under 5 minutes.
I'll tell you, the happiest guy in this stadium might be Bill Young because the defensive coordinator for a team coming in that was 107th in the nation in total defense has put on a show tonight and made them look like a legitimate national championship caliber team.
They take the 8th highest scoring offense in the nation and held them to a field goal, which came on the final play of the second quarter. Here's a little flare out to Trey Franks. Tyler Johnson made the tackle on Franks. And Franks limping off as he did earlier in this half. The Sooners are going to come up short of a 10-win season. That doesn't happen very often. Of course, they could get the 10th win in their bowl game, wherever that might be. You'll find out about all the bowls starting at 8 o'clock tomorrow night on ESPN, 8:15 rather, and continuing at 9 o'clock when you'll find out, after you find out who's going to play in the national championship game, you'll find out about the rest of the bowls. Sooners had won 4 of the last 5 Big 12 crowns. And they had won the last 8 straight in this Bedlam matchup. There's another nice stop by Sean Lewis, who's had a huge game. The sophomore out of Missouri City, Texas.
Well, he did a great job of running down the line of scrimmage. He came off the edge saw the handoff, and then straight down the line of scrimmage to make a play for the stop short of the first down.
4th and a long one. Blake Bell's in for the first time tonight, the short yardage quarterback. They haven't had any short yardage or goal line situations, so he hadn't had a chance to play.
How about that? He's been such a big part of their offense over the last 4 or 5 weeks. First time in the game.
Redshirt freshman, all 6'6", 250 pounds of him. And he'll just run it behind his blockers, and he's got the first down. He might have a touchdown, and does. Bell for the score, the first touchdown of the night for Oklahoma. 29-yard rumble.
Most of his runs have been inside. This time they take it outside. Jaden Bird, number 53, with a key block right on the edge. And a little different look out of that power formation, the Belldozer package. And Blake Bell gets his 10th rushing touchdown of the season.
That's tops on the team. But it's way too little and way too late. So it was a good-looking play. And he's the future at quarterback for the Sooners. And finally they get a touchdown, but it comes with 2:25 remaining in the football game. Landry Jones couldn't get him in the end zone. Blake Bell did, but did it with his legs. 44-10. In Afghanistan, morning now. Breakfast has already been served, and notice has been served on the Sooners by Oklahoma State tonight. So we'll take a look at our Pacific Live game summary. 247 yards on the ground for the Cowboys. Turnover story 5-1 now, and that led to the only Sooner touchdown after Jeremy Smith fumbled. They get down, and Blake Bell gets him in the end zone on a 29-yard run. But all Cowboys 44-10.
Yeah, they protected their quarterback, Brandon Weeden. No touchdowns, but no sacks and no rug burns either.
No.
I mean, he was not on the ground.
And I'm sure, even though first game he hasn't had a touchdown pass, he's not going to care at all after what he talked to us about what this game meant and being able to beat Oklahoma. That's a free ball. Finally found the handle, Justin Gilbert. And Gilbert stopped at the 20 and then pushed back.
Coming into the game, Oklahoma State averaging 161 yards a game on the ground, 8th in the league. Tonight, a completely different story. They've run early, they ran often. 30 carries, 271 yards worth of running. And the more this game wore on, the more they just gashed this Oklahoma defense. And it was a combination of Joseph Randall and Jeremy Smith. A great 1-2 punch tonight for the Cowboys.
Final couple of minutes. More ground game here. And another couple of yards. Herschel Sims on the carry. Oops. Todd was just talking about hoping Mike has long undies on. I hope he does too.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't change expression much, did he? Oh boy. He'll enjoy it more and more as the night and the weekend progresses. And we talked about the storm forecast for Stillwater. You can see that some of the fans are lining up to be part of the field when it's over. The Sims again on the carry. Oklahoma State up 34. It's going to be one of the largest wins in history for them. 47 back in 45. The celebration is close at hand now with just over a minute to play.
Well, my advice to players on both teams, particularly the ones from Oklahoma, put your helmets on and strap up your chin straps before the field gets covered with folks.
Herschel Sims getting a few carries here at the very end. We might or might not have another snap. Your number one in the Big 12, Spider-Man. Tell you that much. Champions of the Big 12 for the first time. And Bedlam about to become mayhem. Congratulations to the Cowboys of Oklahoma State. They snap an 8-game losing skid to the Sooners, and they are Big 12 champions, headed to the BCS. Here's Holly.
Well, Coach Gundy, this is the first time you've been able to beat Oklahoma, but how do you describe beating them like this?
Well, our players had really two really good weeks of practice, and these are special kids. I told them in the locker room before the game that they're a special group, and they deserve it. They've worked for a long time, and so they've earned it.
You guys really made a dramatic change in your running game tonight, over 270 yards rushing. How were you able to do that?
Well, our offensive staff felt like that we had to be able to run the football. That's where we came up short at Iowa State. And, well, you got to give a lot of credit to our defense. It's unbelievable what our defense did. But the kids really played hard, and it's all about them. I'm really proud of them.
Coach, I know you wanted to win a conference championship first before you talk about this. You've won it tonight. Now how do you make your case for this team deserving a shot at the national championship?
Well, I think people have to decide whether they want to see a 9-6 game or a 39-36 game. And I think this is the opportunity for people to find out how good the defense is in the SEC. We'd love to have that challenge. I think our defense is better than what other people say. So, last week, I said Alabama should be there. There's no question Oklahoma State should be number 2 right now. No question.
Thank you, Coach.
You bet.
Todd said earlier, I wonder if the tune for Coach Gundy will change. He's whistling something different, isn't he? That's okay. He's got reason to brag up his team after a resounding win tonight. 44-10 is the final. So finally, the long wait is over for a conference championship. This isn't the Big 8 back in the mid-70s. This is the 2011 version of the Big 12, and the champions are the Cowboys of Oklahoma State. Final score, 44-10 for Todd Blackledge, Hallie Rowe, and our entire crew. Brad Nessler saying so long from Stillwater. Time to head to Robert Flores with the Ford wrap-up show. Congratulations to the Cowboys. They keep it on the ground, and this is going to be a touchdown. Jones running for his life. That's a ball is out, and it's scooped up by Blotnick.
St. Anthony Game Day with Bob Erzik and the Sports Extra team.
Well, what can you say except that it is sheer and utter bedlam here at Boone Pickens Stadium as the OSU crowd has rushed the field after a dominating 44-10 victory for OSU over OU. Bob Erzik alongside Daniel Holdridge. And Daniel, we talked about it before the game. We expected this one to be high scoring. It was from one end. Yeah. OSU obviously racking up 44 points. But what happened to the Sooners? OSU's defense was awesome tonight, forcing 5 turnovers. OU just looked lethargic all night long.
Yeah, first of all, I'll admit I was wrong. I picked OU. I was flat out wrong. It was one of the worst picks I've ever made. I'll start with that. Oklahoma State, one of the more impressive performances I have ever seen from them. Yeah. You know that Mike Gundy is feeling great to get that monkey off his back, beating the Sooners, winning their first Big 12 championship. All around a dominating performance. And like you said, I don't know where Oklahoma was. They did not show up, and in the second half, they gave up, and OSU is now partying on the streets. And I tell you what, both the goalposts have been torn down. I think one of them, seriously, is on its way to Eskimo Joe's.
If you're at Eskimo Joe's or going to Eskimo Joe's, you will probably see the goalposts out there. But, yeah, just a tremendous performance by OSU tonight. They make history. This is the first time in school history they win 11 regular season games. Last year they won 11. Of course, that counted the bowl game. First time ever in school history they have clinched a BCS bowl bid. In all likelihood, that will be at the Fiesta Bowl. They'll probably end up playing Stanford there. So what an incredible night for OSU.
Really the question now is, like you mentioned, the Fiesta Bowl. What is it possibly the BCS National Championship? Did they prove to the voters that they need to change their vote and move OSU OSU to second. That'll come out tomorrow night at 7:15. It's very interesting what could happen.
And it was good to see Mike Gundy politicking there on ABC afterwards, saying that, hey, we deserve number 2, and we deserve a shot at the national title.
Absolutely.
All right, let's take a look at the game plan that we have here for you today. We are going to be heading into the locker room, both locker rooms. We're going to analyze the quarterbacks play tonight, Brandon Wheaton and Landry Jones. Both of them didn't play all that great, but we'll talk about that a little bit more later on. Of course, we will hear from Mike Gundy, Bob Stoops, live in their post-game press conferences. We also hope to have some of the players on as well. That's all coming up within the next hour, and what a tremendous night it was here for OSU as they make history. 44-10. Who would have ever thought it was a blowout? Some people, I don't want to say who, I kind of picked OSU to win this one, but I would have never thought by 34 points. It's crazy.
You got to give a lot of credit to Oklahoma State's defense. They have been doubted all year long. I'm one of them. Tonight they came up huge, shut down the run, completely disturbed Landry Jones all night long, got to him, knocked him down. Oklahoma's receivers could not respond. They dropped several passes. It was dominance, complete and utter dominance by OSU.
No doubt about it. We've got plenty of highlights to show you from the first through the fourth quarters. So let's kick things off. A huge crowd on hand, obviously, here tonight at Boone Pickens Stadium, hoping to witness history. And, of course, they did. The Sooners actually tried to disrupt the Cowboys as they were coming out of the tunnel here down low. They were talking some trash down there. Bob Stoops wasn't happy about it. That might have just fired up OSU. But both defenses came out playing well early on in this game. The Cowboys obviously getting some serious pressure on Landry Jones as Rashedi Jones knocks him down here to the turf and gets right into his grill.
Yeah, absolutely. They got to Landry Jones early. That was really disrupted him. And then you go to Oklahoma State on the offense. Brandon Wheaton to Tracy Moore, 53 yards. That got OSU to the 15-yard line and set up Jeremy Smith. 9-yard touchdown run. The Cowboys take a quick 7-0 lead. That drive was 4 plays. It took 1 minute and 13 seconds.
Yeah, and then on their next drive, Jones tries to get it back by going long for Jazz Reynolds, but Broderick Brown makes an incredible interception as he wrestles the ball away. That turns into a touchback.
Yeah, great play by him. Wrestled it away, really went up and attacked the football in the air, something you teach defensive backs. And then Oklahoma did a lot of things wrong tonight. This was a big play in my mind. Tom Ward roughing Brandon Wheaton. The Cowboys had actually made a penalty. It was 1st and 25. They actually had a penalty there. We actually have Bob Stoops live, so we'll stop this.
Actually, we'll get to Bob Stoops a little bit later on, but let's take a look right now at some more of the highlights here. Oh, you really started to feel the absence of Ryan Broyles here, but this is actually Brandon Wheaton back to pass. Check out the screen play. That's going to turn out to be a nice gain for OSU. Second quarter action now.
Oklahoma on offense. 3rd and 14, something that, like I talked about it, we saw a lot tonight, was drops from the Oklahoma receivers. Obviously, without Ryan Broyles, they needed DeJuan Miller and Jazz Reynolds to step up, and flat out, they couldn't do it. Dropping balls all night long. The Oklahoma State defenders, I'll give them credit too. Justin Gilbert, Markel Martin, Broderick Brown, they played great, but the OU receivers dropped some big passes.
Yeah, and then when they finally caught one, there was Sean Lewis to lay the wood out to Trey Franks, who was thrown to the ground for a 4-yard loss. OSU's defense playing great. Then the Cowboys defense continues to make big plays, and this one was huge as Alex Alkins forces Landry Jones to cough it up. Jamie Blatnick would recover it, and he would take it back here. Check this play out. This is amazing. There goes Elkins in there. He gets the sack. Ball is loose. Jamie Blatnick picks it up. He's huffing and pumping down 59 yards all the way down to the 1-yard line. Incredible play.
Yeah, that set up Joseph Randall. Just took one play after that, 1-yard touchdown. It's 17-0 Oklahoma State. And really, Bob, at that point, I thought this game's over. Yeah. I really didn't think that Oklahoma could afford to get down by that many points and try to pass the ball and pass their way back into the game, and it proved to be true.
Yeah, then after another Sooners punt, Randall busted through a seam, 31 big yards before Tony Jefferson made the touchdown-saving tackle at the Sooners' 17. The fans obviously loving it. A little later, it was Randall again, capping off a 7-play, 43-yard touchdown drive with that 2-yard score. And that made it 24-0 Cowboys with 4:05 left. Unbelievable. Sooners finally get on the board here, though. Check out freshman kicker Michael Honeycutt line driving a 48-yard field goal. That made it 24-3 at the half. OSU outscored its opponents so far this year, 342-104 in the first half.
Yeah, we go to the third quarter, and Oklahoma's been great in the third quarter all year. You thought that maybe Bob Stoops giving them a halftime speech, get them back into this game, but they were worse in the second half than they were in the first half. And you see this play, Landry Jones trying to get something going on offense. His first play of the third quarter, empty hand. He fumbles the football. Rashedi Jones picks it up and scores the first touchdown of his career.
Yeah, and then OU moving the ball on its next drive, another fumble. This time freshman Brandon Williams coughs it up. Caleb Levy knocked it loose. Pokes recovered at their own 30.
Fourth turnover of the game at that point for the Sooners. Then Zach Craig, not a guy you hear much from this season, but gets back there and gets a sack on Landry Jones. As we said, he was running for his life the entire game. And then Oklahoma State just starts punishing the Sooners up the middle. Look at Jeremy Smith, 37-yard touchdown. That was a 3-play, 46-second drive. It's 41-3.
And then Joseph Randall continued to gash the Sooners defense with his 22-yard run. That led to another field goal as the Cowboys outscored the Sooners 20-0 in the third quarter, making a stunning 44-3 lead going into the fourth.
What do I say, Bob? You played the fourth quarter only because they make you, because this game was over. Landry Jones trying to go deep, picked off by Justin Gilbert. Fifth turnover of the game for Landry Jones. For the Sooners. Jones had 4 of them by himself, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles.
And then Randall continued to demoralize the OU defense after busting loose here for another big 30-yard pickup. He finished with 151 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. A fantastic night for him.
Really the only thing that went wrong for the Cowboys right here, Jeremy Smith with the fumble. Sooners recover, but again, they only played the fourth quarter because they make you. There was nothing in doubt in this football game. It was only a matter of how bad OSU was going to win.
And then finally, OU scores its first touchdown of the night. The Belldozer comes in a short yardage situation, takes it in for the 28-yard score, but it was too little, too late, making it 44-10. And then, of course, the OSU fans, here you see the Belldozer. He busts loose and gets the opening, and that one of the few bright spots on the night for OU there, but they shut down the Belldozer because he never got in.
Yeah, there was the most points scored by Oklahoma State since 1945 in this Bedlam series. In 1945, they won 47-0. So, like we said, total and utter dominance by the Oklahoma State Cowboys. They're the Big 12 champs. They're celebrating in the streets in Stillwater, and they deserve this. This is something that they've worked toward. These seniors have now won 40 games. That's the best senior class they have ever had. Mike Gundy has been building this program. Boone Pickens donating the money, the new West End zone, the recruiting efforts. They've got to this point. They wanted to win their first Big 12 title, and they got it done, and they got it done in impressive fashion, something that people will never forget.
Yeah, it was senior night here, the last home game for 17 seniors, and Justin Blackman was also honored. He's just a junior, but he's going to be going to the NFL draft, so it was Whedon and Blackman's last home game here, and ironically, they didn't score a single touchdown all night long, and they scored 44 points.
Who would have thought that Whedon and Blackman don't account for a single point in this game, and they scored 44 points and won the game going away? Bob, on Oklahoma's side, I think defensive coordinator Brent Venables deserves a lot of blame and a lot of heat for the way that his defense played in this game. And I know that Oklahoma gave OSU 14 points as far as the fumbles. But look, the defensive game plan was bad. He's got better talent at that on the defensive side. I know that fans have been screaming about some of his decision making, but in this game, I thought it was bad coaching. And I know that they've lost some players. Ronell Lewis didn't play in this game, but they have enough good players to play better defense than they did tonight against Baylor and against Texas Tech. That's not acceptable for a program like Oklahoma.
Well, one thing that really surprised me is that OU came in here with the most sacks in the nation, yet we saw barely any pressure on Braden Whedon, and that's a credit to the offensive line for OSU. But I didn't see very many blitzes out there. I didn't see very many attempts to kind of add some more guys into the rush to try to get some pressure on Whedon. He had all night. He didn't have a great game, but he didn't commit any turnovers either, and that was key.
They tried a couple things with Tom Ward, blitzing up the middle, but it wasn't creative. It wasn't anything that surprised them. I mean, it was just, again, I think that Brent Venables deserves some blame for this loss and the 3 losses that they've had this year. That defense has got to be better. It's embarrassing what they've put on the field in those 3 losses.
Yeah, we showed you some of the highlights here, and of course the video of the fans running onto the field, rushing the field. Our own Wendell Edwards was out there and had a chance to experience. Let's hear Wendell.
Take a look at the frenzy. The Oklahoma State Cowboys are Big 12 Conference champions for the first time ever. Mike Gundy beating OU for the first time ever as a coach and as a player. Students, fans, Cowboys from all over have stormed this field just to say thank you, Cowboys. 44-10, the final score. The Pokes have done it. Guys, back to you.
Looks like Wendell's having just as much fun as the fans out there.
The Pokes have done it. He's right. They have.
They have. It's been an incredible atmosphere here. The fans rushing the field. They took down both of the goalposts. Daniel mentioned he may end up finding one of those at Eskimo Joe's here a little bit later on.
eBay.
Yeah, he may, absolutely. But, hey, they deserve it. It's been a long time coming here. Not a lot of victories in this long history of this rivalry that dates back to 1904. Only 16 coming into this game. And obviously the fans back on the field just celebrating it, taking it all in. Probably doesn't end 107 years worth of frustration, but they're awfully happy tonight.
It was a great win from the Cowboys. Let's look at some of the Arvest stats. And I'll tell you one thing that you're not going to see on this stat board as you look at these. One thing that stuck out to me is Oklahoma, out of their first 29 plays, they passed it 24 times. We talked about coming into the game, you have to rush. You have to keep the ball out of Brandon Whedon's hands. They didn't even try to do that. You look at the Cowboys stats, 472 yards, 255 on the ground. How about that? Proving that they can run against the Sooners defense.
And everybody thought it was going to be OU that was going to be able to run coming into this game.
Yeah, and they didn't even try, and Oklahoma State succeeded. They did a great job.
All right, we've got a trophy presentation going on, so let's go there.
And it's Big 12 Championship trophy in the locker room as we speak. Chuck Nyman
pulling it up. The Big 12 Championship trophy. There it is.
Look at Rashedi Jones. He's holding that up. That's in the Oklahoma State team room, in case you're wondering. They did not do that on the field like they do in other Big 12 championship games in the past. They did that in the team room, all the OSU Cowboy players and coaches. I'm sure some of their family members in there as well celebrating. Look at that. The Big 12 championship, the first in Oklahoma State history.
Yeah, and the last time they had won a conference title, and it wasn't an outright title, was back in 1976. So it's been a long time coming for this team. And it's just amazing what Mike Gundy has done with this program here. He picks up his 58th win overall in just his 7th year as head coach. He's just a few wins now away of becoming the number one winningest coach here. He's going to pass Pat Jones next year.
Yeah.
Pat Jones is 64, but he moved into second place here, and it's amazing how he has turned this program around in such a short period of time.
Yeah, you have to give credit when you talk about what's happened with Oklahoma State. Boone Pickens is one, obviously, with this donation. Mike Holder's done a great job as the athletic director, and Mike Gundy with his recruiting efforts, with his bringing in the right assistant coaches. How about the fact that just barely a year ago, people were thinking Dana Holgerson's gone. Our offense is going to slip up. And he goes and finds a guy that he coached with in the past as an assistant, Todd Monken, brought him out of the NFL with the Jacksonville Jaguars, brought him in here. And Monken's done a great job with this offense, done a great job fitting in, even though he didn't know the offense. Brandon Whedon almost taught it to him a little bit. As a team, as a just Oklahoma State program, they've done a great job of getting themselves to this point.
And what's the amazing thing is he has done this with 3 different offensive coordinators. He's got Todd Monken, Dana Holgerson, and Larry Fedora, who himself picked up a big victory today with Southern Miss over Houston. But that's amazing. You change your offensive coordinators like that, but you just keep winning. You just keep winning. And that's a testament to the great hiring practices, first of all, of Mike Gundy and the entire OSU organization. And just playing some fantastic football and some great recruiting here.
Yeah, and defensively, I mean, I can't state it enough. The fact you saw at OSU stats, how they rushed the ball so well, Oklahoma could not run it at all. In the fourth quarter, you look at it, they rushed for over 100 yards in the game. In the fourth quarter is where they got most of those because through 3 quarters, they barely had any. And it was just a testament to that OSU defense. They were not going to let them run the ball, and then they were forcing Landry Jones to make throws at times he didn't want to make them. Overall, a great performance. You got to give credit to Bill Young as well. He came in here, changed the Oklahoma State defense. People thought OSU would never have a good defense, a good enough defense to win a conference title. He preached get turnovers. He preached get to the quarterback, and they did that to win the title here tonight.
Yeah, after 3 quarters, OU had rushed for a total of 24 yards on 23 carries.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Impressive defense.
You got to give it up to the defense. They've been discounted all year. They did it when they needed to.
Yeah. All right, we got to take a time out here on the St. Anthony Game Day post-game show. When we come back, we will hear from the 2 coaches, Mike Gundy and Bob Stoops. Stick around for more of the show right after this. OSU fans continue to celebrate tonight's huge 44-10 victory over OU as you see the goalpost coming down in the east end zone. They also took them down from the west end zone, and right now they're in pieces on the field, and the security is trying to save them, trying to get them underneath inside the tunnel so nobody actually takes them away, and it ends up at Eskimo Joe's.
Yeah, absolutely. OSU fans celebrating, most of them trying to file out of the stadium, get onto the streets. I would say that it's fair to say that Bob Stoops has a lot of explaining to do after the way that his team performed, the way that they were dominated in this Bedlam affair. Let's go to the post-game room and hear from Bob Stoops.
My congratulations are ours as a team to Oklahoma State, Big 12 champions, and they obviously don't need to worry about sharing a trophy with anybody. They played an excellent game and obviously, deserved and won a big game, and looking at us, very disappointed in what we were able to do. What, the game, you look at it, it's 10-0. It's, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes to go in the half. You've moved the ball. But every time we approach scoring zone offensively, we had a penalty, bring it back. We had drop passes on third down, so it stalls the drive. And then we have 2 turnovers at the end of the half, and then to start. And then, early in the third quarter, you have 2 turnovers that give them 2, not give them, but they earned, 2 touchdowns. So when the defense was hanging in there playing decent, the offense isn't. And then it all, really together in the second half defensively, just, really poor run with their ability to run the football. We're blocked, we're out of gaps, linebackers, aren't in the right position. So they took advantage of all of it and won a game, obviously in a strong way for them. And I'm sure they're going to have some great opportunities from here. I don't know what'll happen, but I know from what I understand, LSU won, right? I'll vote them 1 and Oklahoma State 2.
Talk about the line of scrimmage if you can, because usually your team holds its own or wins the line of scrimmage tonight.
Yeah, we didn't. Not in any way. They blocked us. They protected. They, like I said, running the football. We were, if we were out of position at times, or at times they blocked us out of position. So either way, we just got, we got beat up there.
Bob, you put a lot of pressure on the passing game early when you're facing a team that's ranked 93rd in the country. Can you talk about the decision not to establish a running game sooner?
I was exactly some of it with their pressures. We pitched the ball out on some of the bubble screens and things like that. Maybe more than we would have liked, or they forced us to more than we want. But I was displeased with that at halftime. I brought that up. I said we've ran the ball 10 times and we threw it 38, and that's what happens to us, and we end up, right at the end of half is where it all, broke down. So, it's not a very good job on our part as coaches.
It seemed like that Landry Jones fumble and the return by Blackman was just a huge momentum changer. Could you kind of sense that at the time?
The 2 fumbles, that's what I said. It was 10-0. You're still hanging in there, and we were moving the ball. Like I said, every time we got near, the scoring zone, we'd get something. We had the holding, pulls us back. We have the drop pass, over the middle, a couple of them. And, it just ruins your drives. And then Landry, we get pressure to running back, busts the protection. He has the linebacker, he doesn't take him, so Landry, trying to make something happen, ends up fumbling the football, touchdown. It's just, and then the other one out of the halftime just came out of his hand, and there you have it. There's 14 points, and all of a sudden, a 10-0 game is gone. Just, right there was the huge, those were major, and then. Anyway, so those are hard to overcome.
Are you disappointed that this team didn't improve from the beginning of the season to the end, where you had some things that came up that prevented you from making the progression like teams you've had in the past?
Yeah, I am. Some of it our part, whether it be coaches and players and making improvement. Some of it's we're missing some key guys that. The running back busts the protection, and other young true freshman fumbles. You wonder why some of these guys that weren't playing more earlier. Well, they do things like this, and a guy like, Dom Whaley doesn't usually do that. Ryan Broyles doesn't drop third down passes. So, I'm not making excuses. The bottom line, some of the people you're missing, they make a difference.
I'll talk about your receiver core today. You catch 27, but as you just said, you dropped several that could have saved third down.
Yeah, no, it was poor. It wasn't nearly what it needs to be.
So, Coach, how do you go on from here as you prepare for what will be a bowl game for you somewhere?
Yeah, we'll see. We've got a lot to talk about, to analyze, to look at, and we'll do it. And this is the extra week, so the players will get a few days here next week, but we've got a lot to go through.
They've had a lot of success with the passing game this year, but the running game has had its moments too. What did you see on film from them running the ball heading into tonight's game? You're concerned?
Yeah, well, much of what you saw today, it seemed like a year ago they actually ran it more, than they were this year, and you can't.
All right, that is Bob Stoops. Let's head down now to the OSU locker room where Mike Gundy is now talking live.
Before the game at the hotel, before we came over on the walk, I had mentioned to our defense that this was an opportunity for them to shine. They'll be in on the big stage in the spotlight, and they had taken some heat throughout the year, and if they wanted to prove to people that just half of what I said during the season was right, that they needed to do it tonight. And with that being that I thought our defense was better than what people thought or what people said. They'd been out there for a number of plays. We had forced turnovers, but there wasn't anything statistically to back it up. And so I mentioned to them that tonight was their night, and I don't think there's any question that they showed up in a big way. That I don't know that we've had as good a defensive effort around here in a long time in a big game. I thought the game plan was excellent. The coaches wanted to attack. They wanted to blitz and blitz a lot. And the players bought in. They played with great energy. I thought we were really good in the kicking game. I thought Joe DeForest had a great plan. We wanted to attack in the kicking game. In fact, I thought we should have blocked a couple punts. We had to be close. And I'm not so sure one time our guy wasn't by the punter. But we wanted to try to block a couple punts. Obviously, we didn't get that done. But we wanted to play aggressive in that area. And then offensively, our staff felt like that we had to be able to run the football. And we had to be able to use some tight ends and some heavy sets at times and run the football effectively in order to open up everything else that we thought gave us the best chance to win. We didn't play as fast. We thought it would be best to use some of the clock to limit the number of plays that our defense was on the field. And Oklahoma had 83 plays, we had 69. But we wanted to try to limit the total number of plays that our defense was on the field. So everything worked in our favor. We were able to win the turnover battle. They turned it over 5 times. We turned it over 1. We were really good with the penalties. So it's just a great win for our program. Very proud of our team. Very proud of our coaching staff. And, things happen for a reason. After we had lost at Iowa State, our players just bought in. They went through a couple days where they were struggling, but they were very resilient after a couple days, and they continued to believe in themselves. They understood that for whatever reason, it just wasn't their night, and they had another opportunity. So they were on the biggest stage in the history of this school, in the football program. They knew they had a chance to be outright conference champions for the first time ever, and it was motivation enough. And it says a lot about who they are and what they stand for. And so I'm just lucky enough to be the guy coaching them. I couldn't be any more proud of a group of guys, coaches, players. And for a number of years, what would be 3 or 4 now, at night when I've laid in bed and thought about tough losses, which you guys spend enough time with me now, those things never go away. But I've also laid in bed and thought about giving that Big 12 Conference trophy to Boone Pickens. Thought about seeing the smile on his face and trying to give him something back for what he started here, and then everybody else bought in. The entire OSU family, the fans. There's been a sense of pride in this program for about 4 years now, 4 or 5 years, with our new facilities, and the players have bought in. Fortunately, I was able to achieve something personally for myself, which was to be able to hand that trophy to him and let him know that what he started has paid off. And so with that being said, we're very excited about the next opportunity. I mentioned in the post game with the cameras that I don't think there's any question Oklahoma State should play in the big game. I know people gave me, I guess people told me at the coffee shop that they were giving me a hard time about mentioning other schools last week, but I wanted to clarify myself. I did with some of the local media, 3 or 4 people after that press conference, that Oklahoma State hadn't earned the right to talk about a game past a conference championship game because we hadn't won a conference championship. And so our staff, including myself, had talked to our football team every day about winning a conference championship. But after what they accomplished tonight and the way they did it against the number 10 team in the country, I don't think there's any question they deserve an opportunity to play for it all. And we have tons of respect for LSU. I've watched them play a few times, have a lot of respect for Coach Miles and what they do. But I think there comes a time that the people across the country, if they want to see and stir up some interest in what would be one heck of a football game and an offense that's maybe different than what they've seen, and a defense that's going to play better than what some people may think they would play across the country, this is our opportunity to find out if we can play them.
Question. Mike, it seems the biggest criticism folks that don't think you guys deserve to be in the BCS title game is, well, they lost to Iowa State. What's your response to that?
We lost in double overtime on the road. We didn't lose at home.
Mike, what does it mean personally to you to bring a Big 12 championship to your alma mater?
You know, I've said this for the last few years. I've said it last week, said it to the media this week, and I'll say it again. And it's really not about me. Either way, these players have bought in. They understand the big picture, and they play for each other. They have accountability, toughness, discipline, and heart. And so, honestly, I wanted it for them. I wanted it for the Oklahoma State people. I wanted it for those fans. I only saw part of it. When they started piling over, I got out of there as fast as I could. I'm looking forward to seeing it on the newscast, on the news. But I wanted it for the families of the coaches more than anything. For the people that have put all the hard work and have come up just a little short the last few years, for them. And I told my wife this during the week, that I'm going to be okay, because I see what's going on in this organization and I'm proud of what these guys are accomplishing. So, but I wanted it for all of them. I want them to feel what it's like so they understand the hard work's worth it. Those are good kids. And so, honestly, it doesn't mean near as much to me as it does to me that they've had a chance to succeed and be the first team to ever be an outright conference champion. I can't be that good. There's got to be some questions.
You mentioned that there was a chance that we missed a shot, and like the Elton Sports fumble at the team return to the one, and then the play that the ball kind of drops into Richetti's hands in the end zone. That seems like those are the perfect examples of plays that.
You know, when things go good early, other good things happen. I played out here a couple years ago, and their ball bounced off a guy's hands and head, and their tight end caught it and ran in for a touchdown at a crucial point in the game. And so, you know, your players ask why, and our response is, don't worry about that, go play the next play. So in games, sometimes things happen, but I believe that those things stem from the football team flying around and playing hard and diving and attacking and being relentless. And then I think the return is good things come our way.
Mike, you were able to run the ball against Iowa State very effectively. How were you able to do so tonight?
Well, our guys had a good game plan. The open week was huge for us. We were able to get some guys healthy. We were able to get 2 good practices in. Your first thought as a coach is to get 4 in. We made the decision as a staff to get 2 in and let them go home for 3 days and get away from here after a tough loss. And we knew that we had to find a way to run the ball because they can still run fast side to side and tackle good. And you can't just throw it every snap and be effective. And we also felt like that they would think that we weren't going to try to run the ball. Again, that's us as coaches. I'm not putting words in their mouth. But we felt like that they would probably just defend pass.
Returning to the prospects of the big game, you had 1 loss, Alabama had 1 loss, your loss was at Iowa State, their loss was LSU in overtime. Can you go through what you think the merits are, you guys versus Alabama?
You mean ours was in overtime, theirs was,
I'm sorry.
yeah. They had their shot. Let's look, give us ours.
Like you talked about the number of plays, the time of possession was less than 2 minutes difference in the game. I thought that was very critical and important.
No question that we wanted to be on the field, and you guys follow us all year. You know that most of our games we're way behind in time of possession and way ahead in score. So our defense is out there all the time. And I mean, I'm kind of repeating myself now, but we had a plan to run the ball on offense. We had a plan to attack on defense, attack in special teams, and then try to use more of the clock than we ever had before. We sugar huddled a little bit, used a little time. We wanted to stay patient. There were times that we ran the ball. We didn't get a lot, but that allowed us to set something up later. So the staff had a good game plan, and they stayed with it. I thought they kept their composure. I thought that the players were able to feed off of that. And as we started to build a big lead, it paid dividends for us.
Mike, you talked about the case for you being number 1. One of the things people, I think, held against you is they think you're one-dimensional. You're just high-scoring offense. The way you won tonight, best unit on the field was your defense.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make an even better case that people might say, hey, this is a well-rounded team?
Yes, and it helps me when you say it that way. Then I don't have to say it because I'm not good at that. I believe that people saw our defense play as good as maybe anybody that's competed against Oklahoma for the most part all year. I don't know, Kevin, statistically. And they played physical. They were attacking. And this was their chance to shine, and they took advantage of it.
Like, how do you feel generally about BCS versus playoff and now that you're in the middle of it? Is it effective?
I don't think there's any doubt that the best way to settle this would be a playoff. But I don't know how you do it. I don't know when some schools are on semesters, some are on quarters. Some are in finals, other teams aren't in finals. You're not supposed to practice during finals week. It's certainly dead week. So I just don't know how they work it out, but there's no question that we all would like to get to a final 16 or a final 8 and play the thing off. I just don't have an answer. I've seen a lot of different proposals. I just don't know that anybody's come up with a way for it to actually work yet.
What are your thoughts on the possibility of Alabama going in front of OSU when they did?
Well, I don't know that I have to comment on that because if they go, they go. I don't know. That's a tough one. I still say that our team and the coaches held their own until we accomplished something. And we won by, what was the final score? 44-10. We won by 34 points. And it was the 10th ranked team in the country.
Last couple of questions. We've got the players and other staff coming in.
Coach, how satisfying is it for you to beat Oklahoma the first time as a coach?
Again, that goes back to the question they asked about the conference championship. I wanted it more for our players, the coaches, their families, because we'd been so close. And